Alrighty, folks, just getting a sound and visual test here. If anybody in Zoom can let me know in the chat panel, please. And if anybody's on YouTube, if you can let me know, you can see and hear me there as well. All right, perfect. Thanks, Debbie. So, all right, we're start a moment early just so I can get the stream started here on YouTube. Let everybody pile in, get us settled. For those few of you that are here right now, whether you're on the YouTube side or the Zoom side, unless we have a really huge turnout, I am going to go with a, excuse me. I am going to go with a open forum Q&A again today, like we've been doing. The reason why I say if it's a really big turnout or not, there is for Zoom, 65 people that are signed up for today. But we've seen that trend the last few weeks where I've had a lot of people signed up on the Zoom side and only not even half a dozen are showing up. So if anybody is in the YouTube side, they want to join via Zoom, you know, you'll have less of a delay there. I think the interaction's a little nicer on Zoom, to be honest. I'll drop a link into YouTube. All right, so that's all set up there for everyone. So, all right, we can get rolling doing this as an open forum here. I do think, especially when it's a lower number of attendees, it's a little more personable to let you folks direct the content, the direction that we go, giving you the opportunity to get out of the software what you're really looking for. Just want to check one thing with my sound here. Microphone and all right. Very good. So, you know, I see Scott and Shannon in Zoom. I can't see names in YouTube, but, you know, you folks fire away some questions for me. If not, you know, I'll start to just kind of make it up as I go along, as I do tend to do when we're looking at situations like today, leaving it more open forum and me kind of steering the ship versus you folks steering the ship. Cross of PSAR. What is PSAR? I'm not familiar with that. And I mean, we're at already 32 after and just 2 of you here in Zoom. So, I mean, I can throw on your microphones. I'll do that as a matter of fact. So, parabolic stop and reverse. No, we don't have anything like that. I gotcha. Okay, all right. I was trying to enable a mic, but it's showing that you don't have one. So, all right. No, we don't have any parabolic or anything like that. What you could do is, oops, there we go. What you can do is this, we can create scans that are looking for, parabolic moves and then attach things to them. And what one person considers parabolic, another might not, but, we could create an alert window here. All right. So if we go to new and alert window, and just one more shot here. It says that link address is no good, huh? Give me 1 second. I just want to, for anybody that's in YouTube, I'm not sure why it would do that to you. Let me try something here. Sorry, I'm trying to get those that are in the YouTube side over to the Zoom side of things here. Try this here and see if that works. All right, try that, Debbie. All right, but what I was doing here is building at least just a parabolic scanner and then throw some ideas out there. So I think when you're looking at a parabolic scanner, you're really looking at stocks that are making new highs on the day. So we'll take that as our alert or the event to get the trigger. And then everybody, like I said, is going to have some different ideas of what's parabolic, but change, we could go with, let's say, a change in well, let's throw change in 15 minutes in there. We'll add that filter, all right? And we could say if something had moved up, let's say 10% in the last 15 minutes, let's hide those unused. We'll give this, we'll give it a price range. We'll just stick a $2 on there for now. And I'm only going to throw this to have 125,000 as the minimum, because something all of a sudden, a news release happens, or any kind of event happens middle of the day, and a stock, maybe it's only traded a few shares, and then all of a sudden it gets this spike, but it doesn't cross, a major threshold of shares until, let's say, more than halfway through the spike. Now, someone who's shorting will be more than happy with that in a sense, because they don't, they want to catch it more towards the top of the spike versus someone trying to go long, trying to kind of catch it early. Things become a trade-off, but the stock might not cross a larger threshold of shares until quite a bit of time has passed relative to that news. So that's why I don't want to throw a huge number on the volume today. I'd even kill the relative volume filter, at least at the beginning of building the scan, because again, we're looking at a stock that, maybe it hasn't been doing anything the whole day. And so maybe its relative volume up into the point where it's going to go parabolic or spike was at 0.25 or 0.5 or 0.75. And it doesn't really get that relative volume number rocking and rolling towards a higher number till well after that volume's poured in. And, assuming or not assuming whether or not that volume kept up. So that's, I like to give reasoning why I'm putting different values and choosing those values for the scans that I'm building. And then with any scan that I build, I start with a template and I try to look at what the results are. Some days it's easier than others to see if it looks like the results that it's producing are going to be conducive to what we're looking for. Other days it's not as easy to look, especially in the market that we've had. Yesterday it looked like the SPY is ready to give it up towards 420 again yesterday, and then all of a sudden a kick save and a beauty comes in the last 15-minute candles, and then we're often ripping for most of the day today and then going sideways after the beginning. So it's just impossible to make a call one way or the other necessarily. So that's why, especially scan building now, and on all honesty, I keep saying I feel bad for anybody that's, just learning to trade now and just join trade ideas now, because this is a terrible market for it. If the market was just simply going down, would be better than what we have now. And of course, everybody likes market going up. But back to building parabolic here. So we're going to try to find stuff that's moved 10% up in the last 15 minutes. Price is 2, and we're just going to look at 125,000 shares on the day. And the catalyst to get us going on that is that new high. And we'll call it parabolic. And let's just, let's go with this right now and see what we're looking at. All right. And, we have different change filters. We could do that filter in different times. And so we can experiment with that too. We can create multiples of the scan and run them side by side. Something I did very often at the beginning of my tenure with Trade Ideas before working for them was I'd have 3 or 4 very similar scans next to each other. And at the time I worked in a restaurant, so I wasn't home all day a lot of times. I wasn't home for the beginning of the day or the second half of the day. I let those scans run all day, and then I'd come home and I'd look at what the results of those scans were and compare them and, go through, the 200, 300, 400, whatever, how many charts I had to go through. But let's, take a data sample here and let's start looking a little bit later in the day. So this STSS. So we get this, big move here. Let me bring over my drawing tool. So big 15-minute candle move here. 5 minutes, it looks a little nicer here. We could even break this down. Let me change my time frames. Let's go 5 minutes there, and let's go 3 minutes here, because I feel like when people are looking at parabolic moves like this, they're looking in shorter time frames than what I'm typically looking at for my style of trading. And so, that's an all right alert that comes through there and, gets that on the earlier side of the move. But one alert does not make a trend of what this can do. So ABGR, take a look. And again, the alert comes at 3:22. So we get it at the top of this alert, essentially. Now, if we were looking for a short on this, great shorting opportunity if that's what we're looking for. All right. And, you want to think of things in terms of percentage. If you got this and you shorted at this 320 or 315 level and you ride that down to $3, even though it's only 20 to 15 to 20 cents on a percentage basis, all things considered, that's actually a nice move. Continue to scroll up, and we see not a ton of stuff is coming through that's meeting the scan early on in the day. Saba, nope, that doesn't look at all what we're trying to find here. And now this becomes that fine line in what we're trying to do here with building any scan. I can start to loosen up those filters. So again, if we were to come into the configure real quick, right click, configure, and we look, and I've got this 10% in 15 minutes. Well, what if I put it at 7%? We'll see a lot more, or we'll see more. I don't know if it'll be a lot more. We'll see most likely more alerts. The question being, are they quality alerts or not quality alerts? And that's the give and take with any scan building is, and it doesn't work exactly like this, but generally the more you loosen filters, the more alerts you'll get. The more you tighten them, the less alerts you get. That doesn't always mean it's indicative quality versus non-quality alerts, but it's simply a numbers game. By having looser filters, you're going to get more idea generation. What you perceive that idea generation obviously is, beauty in the eye of the beholder kind of thing. So Saba, nothing there. BFRI, so it alerts at 424. So really, again, we're catching the top of this here. All right. So on a shorting basis, if we were looking to short, it looks, pretty decent for a short. If it was something we're trying to catch early on that move, not so much. All right. IMTE. Same thing, if we were looking to short, would have been a great short out of that. If we're not looking to short, not so good. All right, sorry, I just want to juggle a few things on one of my other screens. There we go. MBDL. So this catches early, but then it doesn't really make any sort of a move till later in the day, to be honest. And I suspect that we'll have gotten many more alerts back here later in the day. And the reason why they wouldn't come until here is because we made a high on the day here. So we have to take out the prior high of the day to get an alert on the scan. And so these are the things that when we're building any kind of scan and we're generating ideas, that we have to keep in mind. Oh, well, why didn't I get it, when it made this spike here? Well, if we put a 5-minute high on here, we probably get it back here. All right. And as we scan up, we're going to come across this. I'm sure of that. I can't see how we don't come across it. Again, so 264, and we're catching the tops of a lot of these here. All right. So shorting wise, a lot of these look good. I don't know that you really could have shorted this. I'm not sure. Is what's odd about this is even with 500,000 shares traded on the day and a hefty relative volume, we'd see how very spotty this chart is. And I suspect, let's just take a look in IB at the time and sales of this thing. Yeah, it was probably pretty spready and not so great, all the way through. Was it even shortable? Let's take it one step further. I can't bring this screen over, but yeah, it was shortable. It looks like it was shortable the whole day at IB. But anyways, these are the research. This is the research that we do. Again, if anybody has questions or I'm not answering what you want or you want more clarity on what I'm going over, please, fire those questions away for me. That's what I'm here for. Again, on the YouTube side, I am going to allow everybody here that's on, not YouTube, excuse me, I can't do that on YouTube. Anybody that's on the Zoom side, I've enabled you to be able to speak. So feel free, I've got a speaker in my ear. We can make this a lot more personable for you folks here. I've enabled anybody's mic that wants to jump out and, ask a question or take it a different direction. As I mentioned before, these Zoom getting started webinars, we anticipated a lot more signups and a lot more attendees. And so I had kind of constructed syllabus I was going to do. But with just a few people, I think it's better for you folks to drive the content and see what, get you the most out of the software we possibly can. So, like I said, pop in, fire away and interrupt. I believe everybody's mic is good to go. And I believe I have you in my ears. Let me just double check that I have the mic everywhere it's supposed to be. Yeah, I believe I should be able to hear anybody that chimes in. So again, kind of keep popping through these here. CYRN, again, we're catching the top, I'd imagine, 339. Yeah, basically, a little bit after that 339. All right. And so there's two things that we could do with this. One, for anybody that's looking to short stocks like this, we've seen some pretty decent alerts come through it actually on the short side, if that's something you're looking to do. It's also given us a few that if we could catch it a little bit early, but without letting too much in, without opening that fire hose too much to let too much out at once or too much data in at once, we might be able to get some of these moves that were decent a little bit early. And, right now, because this started with looking at kind of things going parabolic, we might be able to catch them a little bit earlier on these smaller time frames and get a little bit more out of this on the long side. So we'll circle back on that in a moment if we don't go any other direction here. But I just want to go through a few more of these alerts and see what we found. Not that, that ends up being pretty good. I know this was probably one of the, the stocks of the day in the trading world in general. And obviously it was making a nice move well before this alert goes off, but it didn't make that parabolic move until coming up until here. So that's why that alert doesn't come in until so much later. All right, hour. So that ends up, let's see, at 360. Not bad at all. Again, when we consider relative to what we're trying to do originally here, that actually looks okay. Really liquid stock, mail order houses. So many more of those recently, coming through over the last few years. Module homes, I suppose they ship half of it on one trailer and half on another. But again, this could have worked either way. You could have seen this coming through. I don't know if it makes a second alert. You could see something like this coming through, and then you could say, oh, well, I want to, let me set a price alert up above and see if it tags that. And again, this could have been a great shorting opportunity or, pretty decent long opportunity as well. Continue to scroll up here. ERC. I don't think there's much to look at in that. While it was shortable, looking at this chart, 300,000 shares, not really much to say in that one. Again, this becomes that trade-off, like I said earlier, looking at the configure of the scan that we've done here. And yes, when I make a little more headway on this, I'll share this scan And then the next one that we build, I'll share too. And like I said, if anybody wants to take this another direction, use those chat panels, or like I said, on Zoom, you have your mics enabled. You should anyways, if I did everything right. But back to this, we're letting stocks in as long as they've got 125,000 shares traded on the day. So, again, we could tighten that up, but then we might not get some of the alerts that we've got prior that we may have liked. So again, it becomes that trade-off. How far do we want to open the valve of the fire hose or close the valve of that fire hose is, a good analogy, I think, to think of that when we're doing scans like this. Again, here, this would have been another great shorting opportunity here. Just going to continue to scroll up. We're getting towards the end of the list. FEAM, was this anything worthwhile? No, not really. It has this massive spike here, and no shares traded on that. It is shortable. Again, I always like to look at the spreads and keep things realistic. 20-cent spread, you'd have to work that spread pretty hard, I think. And who knows what the spread was in here as well. We could always scroll back in the time and sales of IB. But, realistically, on the idea there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Joe, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm looking at this bottoms pattern recognition. Mm-hmm. And this could be also used for going long, right? Because you have multiple bottoms. And is there additional way to configure that, such as maybe adding oversold condition on RSI on the 1 hour chart, or something that shows that the 1 hour chart, for instance, or 4 hour chart is also reversing from oversold condition?
So are you looking at these ones here, the broadening bottoms and so on?
Yes. So for instance, there was a specific situation, and I think that was either this morning. Mm-hmm. On I forgot the ticker, but there was a stock that was gapping in the morning. Mm-hmm. In the pre-market, and then after market open, started selling off. Mm-hmm. And around 9-10 o'clock, I've noticed double bottom condition on the 5-minute chart, and then started to go in bullish, and there was like a 60-80 cent spread that you could have earned after going for the VWAP. So I'm looking specifically for those type of plays where I know that my odds of making money, my risk to reward mm-hmm. ratio is going to be pretty high.
Right.
And
there's a couple of things we could do here. First, I'm going to throw this into the scan we were just working on and going over. I want to throw that into the two different chats just to get that out there, and we can circle back to that and see if we can circle back on that to get something more to the long side, because I think there's more shorts on this. Now, what I'd point you towards with what you're asking here, so what you could do, so first thing, it's good to understand how all this works. So I'm going to open up a new alert window and bring that down. We're going to search, and we're going to come down to those. And so some alerts have what we call an alert filter attached to those. Where are you? Patterns. There we go. So you see how it says hours of trading here. Not, some of these mm-hmm. alerts have these here. So first, the first thing to do is understand what we've got going on here. So if we click help on this, or we highlighted a broadening bottom, where what you were really looking at, let's see, let me get one that you were actually looking at. Let's go with double bottom. All right. So if we click help here, the first thing we get on the help is going to be, an explanation of what the double bottom is. I think we're kind of clear on that, but just in case for anybody else that's following along isn't. And we can see that this will also report, triple and quadruple bottoms and so on and so forth.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Now, the next key component to this is the filter that gets attached to it. So if we're building the scan, and let's just say, for example, we've got this, we decide that's the alert, we add that alert. We click that. Now we have to figure out, what does this hours of trading mean? On the help page, we can scroll down here, and it's going to tell us here. Some types of chart patterns are graded by the amount of time covered by the chart pattern. Crossing a support line, which has been active for 1 day, is interesting. Crossing a support line, which has been active for 2 days, is more interesting. Crossing support lines when active for a few hours, not very interesting. Time is measured in hours of trading. So we can go back and we can say to the scan, I don't want you to look for anything beyond this, or I want you to go back and looking for beyond this. All right. So in here, that's where we do this. And we could also just tell the algorithm, I don't care how far back you go. The other issue, or not other issue, but the other item that we're looking at, these are looking at 15-minute candles on any of these patterns here. So we could just tell it, we don't care the hours of trading that we're going back, and let that decide. So that would look at stuff more kind of intraday versus something if we said, you got to go back 3 days, for example, putting in, 22 hours, for example, or 20 hours, excuse me, for example, 19.5 hours, for example. So we could put the double bottom in, and then you're trying to look at things that might have an oversold condition. And we have RSI, but we'll have to work with what we have in RSI. So you type in an RSI, we can go with the 60-minute RSI, we go with the 15-minute RSI. They're not necessarily by candles, they're by time frames. Although it's a little bit of splitting hairs with some of it. Some filters it matters more than others, but we can do very little candle comparing within Trade Ideas. But it's more time comparison is the way the data servers and structures are data sets are structured around. So you had mentioned on an hour chart, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we could go with the 60-minute and we could add that filter here. All right. And so we're kind of at the basis of what you're describing, I think. And we could stick a max on here. People split hairs on oversold, 35, 30, 25, just to get a good data sample. I want to put 35 in here, and I'm curious. I want to try to build this out and then see if it comes across what you were looking at today. I suppose we want to try to look at more on the liquid side of stocks, and especially if this was something that was active in the pre-market. I have to, I want to say 225,000 should be all right. We could always turn that number down. All right. And
say $2 minimum per share.
$2 minimum.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just start here real quick. All right. Double bottom, we'll call it. For sold. There we go. And I just want to see, let's take a data sample. I think it's also best, when you're building scans at the beginning, start lighter on the filters, the amount, and maybe also how tight the numbers are on those filters. Go through the history. If you're running it as a history, if you're running it for a day and you're just going to follow it along for the day, then, do it that way too. And this way we get a good data sample of what's going on. There's one other thing here. So this is where the software, becomes so in depth. So in the search, we have any one of these filters we can turn into columns by highlighting it and clicking show column. However, there are columns that exist that are not part of the filters. Type, time, exchange, description, a few, and quality, and some, subsector. And some of these are ones that they have nothing to do with filters, so you'll see they have no filter icon next to them. Quality, when we get to these alerts that have filters built into the alert itself, will give us some details about what the filter was seeing on that. And then we can also get a description here. So I don't normally run these things in my scan, so my default alert window won't have these, but I think it's good for us right now, especially for you and anybody else that's following along, I think can get a lot out of this to see what these will look like, what they're returning. So when I click OK on this, now we can see these columns are added. Let's get this nice and big so we can see this was looking back 2.5 hours of trading to find this double bottom on the TLT, and lo and behold, what do we have here?
Yeah,
double bottom,
just 5
like
minutes
that.
Looks really good.
So and even on the 3 minutes looks really good here too. So now we can see, yes, it's finding, is it perfect down there? No, but we always consider support and resistance zones to be kind of spongy to start with. Now we can run a history on this. We go all today, whatever it is. And we can get some more descriptions here on all of this here. And it tells us, quadruple bottom, price here, all these different things started 6 hours, 12 minutes ago. last turn 2 minutes and 13 seconds ago. So there's a lot of really great data that's coming in here that, as we go forward, or as a lot of individuals go forward, they might not need all this data anymore. But especially when you're building out scans and you want to look in, even though we don't have a ton of it, whatever pattern recognition we have or any other alert filter that we have, I think this is really good information to have to get sets. And so let's just, pan through here and take a look. So, OCGN, this is going to look back into yesterday now. All right. And here we go. It's looking back at here and here of yesterday. So another nice double bottom call out of that. All right. And with these oversold conditions that we're looking at. So again, this is probably looking at started. So this is going back 5 days. It's staying it started. So it's, going way back here. We'd have to, let's go with the 60-minute time frame and see if we can find that on 5 days now. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 looks more like it should have been here. Still has a double bottom look to it from there. So I'm quite questioned why it would say 5 days ago. In 22 hours, last turn, less than 1 second ago. I wonder where you would get that from, even on a 15-minute chart. Last turn 6 days ago. So I wonder if the 6th day, it's including today into the 6th day. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the beginning of that day, because that's where I'm coming in and seeing where it would be a double bottom to that candle. Do you happen to see the stock that came through today by any chance? In any of these here?
No, I already got my trading platform closed, so I don't see it.
Okay, just trying to see and trying to line some of these up here.
I believe it was INDO that had earlier today the condition like that.
INDO
on a 5-minute.
Let's take a look here. And let's see. Let's look at pre-market. Oh yeah, very active in pre-market. Now, if it came through, I would have to guess, trying to find a double bottom here and here, but I don't know if that's will be a case. Let's just scroll up to 3 o'clock area. No, didn't bring that through. I'm also not sure where it would have landed on that 60-minute RSI as well. However, that's the next thing we could do. I want to duplicate this because I don't want to. Right, well, I don't have to actually duplicate it. We could even back build a scanner like this too. So we could come in here and we could set up a scanner according to how we want. So we go to symbols list, go to single symbol, and press OK here now. And we can see and go through history and see if it ever came through this over the last 60 some odd days in what we just built, a specific stock. And then the next thing I'm going to show you, so it doesn't look like anything's coming through here. We can take, and I have a template that's already made from Barry from the trading room. We can go stocks like this. So what Barry did here, there we go, I press the right buttons. I saw it, Chandru. You're all set. I sent a response and I'll give you a call a couple of minutes before so we can set up a screen sharing. So what Barry did here is he took a window and he came into the configure and he just decided to go with the new high alert. But you could select a ton of alerts actually, and you could add the quality columns and all those things like that. And then he took a whole bunch of filters, and there's no values in any of these filters. He just added all these filters as columns essentially. And so we could do, we could do this. We could set up a bunch of alerts in here. Just trying to find this double bottom. Or even all the patterns. I think it's up above here, right? Here we go.
There it is.
So we can set up a whole bunch of these. Add alert. Add alert. Just going to throw a few of these in here for fun. All right. Now we could go through and we could take any stock and do the same thing I just showed you before with a single stock look. We can go, just using INDO to pick on it.
Mm-hmm.
And now when I run the history on this, we can see all the metrics from today that INDO would have made. All right. And we're not limited to what columns I have up here. This just happens to be what was given to me in a template, but we could swap any of these things out and we could see every alert that it made. So we can see it made this double bottom here at 1101. And, here was its price and the shares it traded and its gap down, dollar wise and percent wise, how far it was from the earnings date, its relative volume at that time. And we could decide what we want on the back engineering of a scan from any chart that we wanted. So, just to give you a few different ideas, when you're going at this on your own on how to look for these things. I don't have like the quality columns in here. And of course, you're going to be limited somewhat to your screen space and things like that.
Right.
But essentially every data bit that we have, you have the ability to look back at any stock on any given day in a scan like this. We also have a web page that does something very similar to this. It's called our stocks like this.
Well, this is really neat.
Have you seen our stocks like this page?
No.
All right. So I'm going to bring that over now. All right. So if you were on our homepage, you'd come to the support tab here. All right.
Okay.
And if we scroll down, we have this traders area here. And we have the stocks like this. Now, this is going to be 15-minute delayed data, and it doesn't have as long of historical reference as, as our scans would have. I think this goes back, maybe some stocks have like 5 days of data, some have like 15 days of data. I'm not sure how the data rolls off the server. But again, we could take, I always pick on Apple when I do this, but here, if I want to know what Apple did today at, let's say it's 5-minute intervals. And so that's also going to be the other difference. But let's say I want to know what Apple did at 10 o'clock today, between 10 o'clock and 10:05. So I've got Apple Tuesday, the 19th, Eastern time I'm working on 5-minute intervals. You can go all the way up to 60-minute intervals. And I click submit. I will see every alert that it hit in that 5 minutes. Every one of these alerts was triggered by Apple in those 5 minutes. I also now have every piece of filter data that exists within the system here, whether I want to see the ATR, the volatility, today's range to that point, a 15-minute range, 120-minute range, consecutive candles, down onwards into VWAP, distances from VWAP, what the actual VWAP was at these different times, change in X amount of days, so on and so forth. So another way, there's, a twofold way to back build scans. The good and the bad for both. On this, you can kind of take a pointed view and you can say, what alert would have got me during this time frame? And boom, here are all your alerts during that time frame. The filters, you're handicapped by that 5-minute. Now, some people don't mind having that 5-minute, especially because when we're building a scan, we're trying to find charts that look like, we're obviously not going to want a hard number. I only want to see stocks that traded exactly this volume. We want a range more or less. So that works well like this. This here, where we're looking at it like this gives us some timestamps also to really drill down sometimes based on the alert type. Predominantly it's going to be new high, obviously, in here. It never made any of these other alerts today. If we come into the configure, we threw a handful of alerts in here. it never made a rectangle top. It never made it inverted head and shoulders, at least according to the way the algorithm's seeing it. Now, disclaimer on anything, pattern recognition is fallible. It's left to a lot of interpretation. I'm taking a CMT course, and I have access to another software called Optima in it. That's pretty heavy duty software for pattern recognition, quantitative trading. And even the folks at Optima, pinging them with questions about pattern recognition, they're like, look, pattern recognition, we don't care who it is. It's really fallible. It's a lot of interpretation, and that just kind of is what it is.
Right.
So, but you can, I think hopefully I've given you something to work with and some thoughts and some ideas.
Oh, absolutely. There's tons of information here, and I do have something to work with, and obviously I'm going to play with it to fine tune it to what I'm looking for.
And then so a couple of other things that I'll do here, just to give you something to work off of. Now a lot of people may look at this and they're like, I don't care about the options or put calls and these things that are in here, obviously. But just to give everybody something to work with, I always share this. I mean, maybe most of you have it already, but all the same, here's that stocks like this template. And then, you take it and make it your own. So here's the stocks like this template. Let me share that out with you folks. Copy. And so drop that here and drop that here. And I saw your question. Sorry, Terkel. I just kind of got sidetracked on that. I never get to answer questions so pointed like that. It's kind of nice to do it like this. This is, one of the nice things about doing this on Zoom here. And then here's, I'm just going to drop this template and let you work with it from there. For anybody that wants it. So let me drop
Thank you.
that. Yeah, of course. And, the other thing too, is I always mention, we're always happy to build up some templates. I mean, what we won't do is we're not going to, optimize and backtest scans for people, but we can throw 2 cents in there and, do what we can to get things looking a little nicer or anything like that. So, you can always email us we actually just changed the email address to support@trade-ideas.com. For some reason, the info at Trade, there are people not getting our emails recently, or they're landing in spam, really causing us a lot of problems. But here, support@trade-ideas.com. All right. Good if I press the right buttons here. So also anybody that's, listening in, if you've ever emailed us and we didn't respond, please say, hey, listen, just following up on this, I didn't hear a response. We've only recently learned of this being an issue that we're trying to work through, and changed a few things with our domain server and a few other items that we're hoping rectifies this. And made sure we've separated now. Our support emails are completely separate from any marketing emails that we do. Because I know people, don't, once someone subscribed, you get the emails about this discounts come out or this trading books come out, and a lot of people don't care. I don't blame them. But then, it gets our support's also been getting filtered to spam or not making it to people at all. So just anytime you send something in, if you don't hear from us within, let's say 24 hours, just say, hey, just following up with this here. Just in case, because we never dodge an email. At least I never dodge an email. And, nobody gets assigned to any one person or anything like that. We all kind of work as a team, and some of us specialize on some things more than others. So, all right. So that was, I think that was pretty good. Hopefully everybody was here got a lot out of that. Can you use that scan for 15-minute chart rather than 5-minute charts? So yeah, Terkel, that's actually, you could use it for any time frame, I would want to say. It's just that it's looking at 15-minute candles on trying to make those highs, and 15-minute candles on trying to make those highs and lows, essentially, for any of those pattern recognitions. But I think it's valid on any time frame. And like I mentioned before, using the alert filter itself, I think, can make a big difference in how the algorithm's looking back and where it's looking back to, if that kind of makes sense. So I think it could be really used on any time frame. There's a few examples I think that had come through that scan like that. So, and again, any other questions, fire them away. Otherwise, I'm gonna circle back on this whole parabolic idea that we were running with for a few moments there. Yeah, so we found a lot of these here. This ends up, that looked like it was nice. come across. There's one of them that we said we were that would pop back up again. That's a beautiful, beautiful alert that comes out of that. So I think we've seen some really good quality ideas, both from the short and long side of the scan, without even doing too much with it, to be honest. Nice liquid stock too. And here's the thing. This, I'll guarantee, had to have had some kind of news, because you don't see something happening like that and then like that just because it felt like happening. Especially a move that significant to, you know, go from under $3 to just over 450. That takes more than just, you know, a trading room got behind it and was pumping that stock, you know, whoever's out there pulling stunts like that. So, you know, some quality alerts that have actually we've seen on this. And so just for fun, I'm going to look at IB News real quick. And so that came out, let's see, 2 o'clock. And sector report, biggest movers. Look ahead, cancer and treatments. Halted on a circuit breaker. And here we go. There was an article. And there we go. But the article didn't get released till later. So just for anybody that's always looking for the breaking news scan, and this is why, and it's no knock on people that want to use news, but I could possibly care, it would be impossible for me to care less about news. We're just trying to illustrate something here. The real news never got released till at least 2:30, long after this move had already been made, all right? By the time anybody was really releasing news. So there were people that were in the know that are probably paying God knows how much for news, or that were rating, you know, near the news source itself. And by the time anybody got tradable news on it, that move was already over. It was done already. And we picked up that news in that volume much earlier than the news was actually released. And that's the earliest actual news that I can find on it. You know, I can find this on it here. Let me see if I can detach this. How do I detach? Sorry, I'm trying to, I can't bring this window over because it'll drop all my account information. You know, the earliest I find before that is this here. But this is just talking about, you know, what may be. This isn't the actual news itself. You know, talking about, you know, earlier in the month they released stuff. And other than that, we have the volatility halt that happened here. So this was obviously caught in a volatility halt. And that volatility halt news still doesn't come out till after we've already caught the move. We've already been alerted to something significant is happening here. Not only that, we can see here, you know, there's the volume there, and then look at this volume here, that increased volume on 15-minute, and then look at what it looks like on 5 minute, or on 3 minutes, excuse me, on 5 minutes and 3 minutes. So again, you know, we're looking at kind of shorter term thoughts here, but just show you how powerful some simple things can be. And again, all we've done with the scan, we're finding new highs on the day, up 10% over the last 15 minutes. And that's really it. Anyways, so moving right along in life, take a look at the next few here that come through. So it gets alerted at 5:41. So it's catching the end of that move again. Would have been great for a short. $2.83. So there was some meat on this, but you had to be very quick as far as that went. I don't know that that would have been really a great short opportunity. You know, and especially these smaller price stocks, generally speaking, people are going to be taking larger share sizes in general. And so that's everything. Oh, I believe this was the one we were going to circle back on. Is that correct? Yes. So this is one I mentioned early when we were doing this, that made this move, but we didn't catch all this move when we saw the alert back here. And I discussed we wouldn't catch this till later in the day, and we didn't actually get it till here. Thought we might have seen it back here at that time. In fact, did we? The 2 o'clock time, VDL. We did. We caught it very early on that one. So there we are again. So some good stuff here actually from this scan. So I shared this one as is. Now I discussed maybe trying to make a tweak to it so we could catch things a little earlier. So what if we put, let's say, a 6% move here, all right? But what if we also added, we don't want to catch too much more noise. What if we added 1 minute volume filter? What if we throw a 200 in here now? All right. Let's check out the results from the day on this. And again, if anybody, any questions or any other directions anybody wants to go, let me know. Like I said, I'm kind of just spitballing at this point here, some thoughts and going off of a, question that Shannon had asked earlier. Back to the history here. And, the other thing that I hope I get something from this as much as you folks do. As I take these questions, digest them, and kind of, I'm coming up with these answers off the top of my head, more or less. I don't have it, I don't have these questions, pre-done, or, they're not asked ahead of time. It leads me to thoughts that help me in future scan building. I'm like, oh, geez, when I was doing scan XYZ with group ABC, this was something that we came across, and maybe I can apply that to another time. So I'm also hoping that what we do here, you can carry forward and apply it to other things that you're looking at and trying to do with the software. So with that said, let's, take a look at some of these alerts that come through with this here. So AGVR, we really caught the top of that. ENSV, we really caught the top of that. And so, we've changed some things around, but we're not seeing so far great results through there. Now 92, this ends up being a very nice alert. All right, so now, we're 1 for 2, let's call it. 2085. This ends up making a great move off of this right here. Really great move off of that. Again, when you're trading this real volatile stuff and looking for parabolic moves and things like that, you got to take the full plate that comes with it. A lot of these things will not be easy traders, but scanning and looking for parabolic stuff isn't easy. It's not as nice as finding the slower rollers and the 2 and 3 day hold, although one could argue that that's been an awful market for 10 months now, which they would certainly have weight in that argument. My point being is that things are relative to what we're looking for and the conditions that they will present us. STSS, now see, we get this one a little later, I think, than we originally got it before. Maybe not. Still ends up being a very nice alert from 290 off a 3 break. If we were waiting for a 3 break, you get a 3 break and you got it at 310, and let's say you sold it at 330, 340. I mean, because that's the other thing we consider. Sure, we get the alert here. Sure, the top is there. We're trying to capture this. If we could capture that every single time, we're well ahead of the game every single time. So we're seeing some pretty good stuff coming through this here, at least on the early. Now, for me, I'm not an early trader. I don't particularly care to trade stuff this early in the day, but there are people that love it. They live for it. They do very well with it. So these are the other things that we have to consider. What time of day are we finding these alerts? Party City, we're holding parties here. 83, I don't think that was anything too great. Also, you consider this, the risk rewardness. This alert comes off, it never really pulled back much off that. And, you had a near 20-cent move afterwards. So again, relatively speaking, one person will look at that, think that's great. I look at it, I think that's a little tough, but that's what makes us individuals. Let's see, we've seen all these alerts come through. We've seen all these alerts. It's just scrolling up kind of quickly to see what we find. So SEV, we discussed that we might be able to find this earlier. So the last time when we were scanning this on the original version of this, we didn't catch it till I think somewhere in here. And now we're catching it way back here early, and a beautiful range that sets up there on that 3-minute chart. And then it really explodes out of that range afterwards. So again, I think we found some quality stuff in here. I just like to, continue to take a data sample looking at these, and, I try to be as unbiased as I can. Obviously I work for Trade Ideas and I want this to look great, but I'm not gonna, you know, put lipstick on the ugliest doll in the doll bin. So, you know, not great here if we're looking long. Looks pretty good if we're looking short, but I was trying to conduce this version of the scan to look more long than short. That looks pretty decent here off that alert, right? 319. Not too shabby, you know. Again, relative to the percent move off a $3 stock. IMTE. I don't think this really did much of anything. It had this one big quick pop. I think it was also really spready too. So I don't think there's anything great. While technically, you know, you had 20 plus cents on it. I don't think it was anything that was too special for the trade itself. Oops, sorry about that. I had to throw myself on mute 1 second there. I apologize. ATNM. No, I don't think anything was really doing there. No, not at all. I mean, you know, 732 alert. You know, we can loosen up filters to probably get this earlier, but then it becomes a trade-off on that quality versus quantity. And again, I shouldn't even say quality versus quantity. It's quantity versus quantity a lot of times. Again, it's that fire hose. How much do we want to open it up and how much idea generation do we want? Just keep scrolling through. You know, we're only at 10 o'clock and we've already seen some okay alerts. And one day doesn't make a data set, but, you know, we do what we can. You know, I don't think that's, again, you know, things being relative. Sure, this traded 1.1 million shares traded today, but that is not a chart that I'd want to trade anyways. Someone else might look at it and think, yeah, you're crazy. That's a great chart to trade. So be it. Glad to hear that, Terrico. I really, you know, I appreciate that. Because sometimes, I won't lie, I get a little discouraged when I see 60-something people signing up for this Zoom here, and you know, 4 people. And I appreciate the 4 people that sign up here, but you know, you know, I'm trying to do as much as I can for the masses. I can't take, you know, I can't do one-on-ones with everybody all week long. So, you know, we thought this Zoom here might make it a little more personable and help people, because for whatever reason, people don't want to come to the YouTube channel. Is there a way to tell if a block trade was a buy or a sale? And if so, can you make a compare count to reflect bullish versus bearish? No, Rev, there's no way for us to see that. We only have level 1 data that's presented to us. I mean, you could try to put it in your, you know, you could try to coordinate it with your time and sales of your broker platform, and, you know, be watching the time and sales on that. That's the best that I could, you know, the best workaround that I could come up with. But I don't foresee us getting level 2 anytime in the future, and I'll say in the near future anyways. You know, all things are possible, but, you know, relative speaking, I don't think we'll see that anytime too soon. So no way to tell if that's on the buy or sell side. Oh yeah, back to the scan. Oh wow, I didn't realize we're at the bottom of the hour here. So LGVN 1007. That makes an okay move off of 1007. A little choppy. You know, we wouldn't want to run right into it, but pull back and then a nice move off that pullback. And so again, you know, I'm not crazy about that move, but other people, they may have found it to be great. CYRN 319. And so we catch that, you know, not too shabby off that 319. So I think we, you know, we've got something you've got something to work with on 2 different ends and 2 different thoughts here. And then hopefully, you know, you can carry forward what I discussed about adjusting these filters, you know, and adding a filter or subtracting a filter, because I'm going to share this out. And then you know, one last thought on all this here. Let me do this here. You know, let me change the name of this, just because I shared one called parabolic already. So we'll call it parabolic version 2. And then we'll go ahead and share this out. copy, paste, and paste. Always happy, Shannon. I really enjoy doing this. I don't have a finance background. Everything I owe Trade Ideas so much for taking me out of a world of work that I just did not want to do anymore. And, being able to make that shift towards, I was making the shift towards full-time trading. And then to be able to, work for a company that gave me so much, big pay it forward I want to do here for anybody subscribing to Trade Ideas. And that's why, I go live as much as I can doing this. So I shared that scan in both those chats. And the last thought I wanted to leave you with is, I went with a change in 15-minute filter, but, there's a lot of other stuff you can do here. Change, do you want it in a change in 1 minute? Are you really trying to micro scalp stuff? Are you trying to look for stuff moving a little slower? Do you want a 60-minute, just typing change leads me to a whole new thought. Some people want to make their scans based on indexes or the markets. And so we have these, NASDAQ, S&P, and Dow filters here, right? And so do you want to see, the S&P is positive or at least flat while this types of setups that you're looking for making a move up, or vice versa? Do you want to, are you shorting and you want to see the S&Ps getting hammered or the NASDAQs getting hammered and giving you confirmation in your shorts attached to the scan? So just so much that, you can do. And I always mention, do we have everything everybody's going to ask? We never will, because there's always going to be some new indicator or new statistic out there that, is going to work for a set of people. And, we may be able to add some and we may not be able to add some, but we have a lot. Not even I'm an expert in all of these, what every filter does. I've never used every filter, with 500, points of data or over 500 points of data between all these alerts and filters. There's no way anyone could create scans for all of it. And on top of that, with the custom filter abilities that we have, and again, please always keep in mind when I say custom filters, it's not a code compiler. So my example is we don't have EMAs, so you cannot build an EMA. But, while we can't compare candles, we can compare time frames, so there are ways for us to do things with the filters that exist and kind of rearrange those filters in coordination with themselves and filter with those customs. So again, that support at trade-ideas.com. Questions on customs and things, send them in. Mostly I'm going to push it off towards Stephanie. Sorry if you're listening, Stephanie, but she's really the customs expert. I've come a long way in customs, a lot with her help, to be honest. But I still, I don't like to tell people, no, we can't do anything anymore. I always kind of jump on her and say, hey, someone's asking this. Is this possible? Is there something we can work around? Because I know we have these data points, but can we make a filter for them like that? So we try to say yes, much more than we can no. But, like anything, limitations. So, utilize all the stuff that we have, please. There's so much that we have on education. Do this kind of rundown here. I'm going to answer you, Joe, then one last rundown on education here. Joe, I am swing trading CASA. What do you think it will do tomorrow? What do I think it'll do tomorrow? I have no idea. Give you a technical shakedown on it, and this is no prediction of anything whatsoever, but you have a really wide bar Harami here, Harami, however you want to pronounce that. Inside day if we were using bars instead of candlesticks. And it's, on top of that, it's really a spinning top doji on top of being Harami. And hysterical, $6 and $7 we got pinned between. Talk about a technical analysis dream here. If I were a betting man, I wouldn't be surprised to see it do what's called a shark fin, or a continuous symmetrical triangle, more or less, and stay inside itself. I'm guessing there has to be some kind of news catalyst to this yesterday. Again, I don't look at news, other than if I'm making an example of news. And the only other thing I can say is I hope you have a plan already. If you don't have a plan, make one this second and stick to it. And what I mean by a plan is what's your official I'm out of the stock if it goes down, and what's your I'm out of the stock if it goes up, whether it's price or time or a combination of both for either. And then, because you asked the question, but I don't want it to be necessarily directed at you, but this is for anybody. Before pressing buy or sell on any order, you must absolutely have a plan with what you're going to do with that stock, with price action and or time action on that stock. Anything short of that, you shouldn't be pressing buy, in all honesty. Don't do what I did for my first 6 months of trading. But I suspect, I suspect you have another kind of inside day tomorrow. However, you break 6, it's game over. And if you break 7, it could be off to the races. That's what I would, that's where I go with that. This thing is really beat up, over time, aside from this massive gap that just happened. And I say massive, but it's on a percentage basis, of course. You've run into resistance right here. All right. And I think we could see that on the chart, but getting above this makes it run back towards the high of the day yesterday. And I think that gives it momentum to get back towards this kind of area up here. So that's what you're looking at. Those are, that's kind of my breakdown of, possible scenarios on that stock. You and me both, Perfect Circle, you and me both. So the last parting shot that I want to leave here with is, on our webpage, education, for anybody that's, I think everybody's really been here enough to see this, but I love to, as they say, beat a dead horse. User's guide. All right. This thing is phenomenal. You scroll down or you press that arrow, whatever. Sections, it's all sectioned off on all these different things that are in here. All right. Whatever you can want. However, if you're not getting exactly what you want, table of contents, click it, search, and you're going to get docking or whatever it is. All right. There's a lot of repeat and repetition to this because things repeat over and over again within the software. But you're going to find a lot of what you're looking for in here. What I think helps is that, attending these live sessions, getting into the software and using it brings a lot more context to some of the things in the user's guide. I think someone that's been using the software for a week might struggle with the user guide a little bit. And I don't blame them because there's a lot of context that's lost in it. Someone who's been using the software for a month is going to get a lot more out of the user's guide. Again, context and time. Number 2, this is where the getting started stuff is here. Again, for you folks in YouTube, come here. If you want to be in this, and if for now anyways, while we're doing this on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Zoom, it's an experiment. I don't know how long this goes on for, but I do like this format. Come here, sign up here. This is where you sign up for it in the education tab. All right, the getting started. That's how you come be part of Zoom instead. I know, people like Perfect Circle. You're at work. You're already logged into a Zoom, so you're handcuffed there. I do apologize for that, but for anybody that can or on you get that odd off day, Perfect Circle. Come join me on the Zoom side. As long as we're a small crowd like what I've got in here now, I'm going to enable mics. Moving forward. There's 20 introductory lessons. It's kind of just point and click lessons. Again, I think, context helps more when you're looking at this, but the very short point and click videos, no sound, daily support here. This is where you're going to find the noon sessions. Barry all day long is here. It's just the YouTube stream essentially of the Traders Room. Getting passed back and forth. We're going to, shake maybe some stuff up. Michael and Barry did a little back and forth at 1 o'clock when Barry came back to take that stream, just talking about trading styles and stuff like that. I think we're going to try to implement a little more of that with the new streaming software that we got set up. I think that'll be nice to do that. Easter's over, but I guess the sale's still going. Again, here's the Traders Room. This is a lot more included. I learned a ton in here. I learned a ton from, Barry, obviously. There's some traders, unfortunately, that aren't with us anymore. They've actually, a couple of traders actually passed away that used to be in this room that were really great people. There's still some really great ones in there to, not get too somber on that note, but, Real is one of them who's in there. I learned so much from Real. He's one of those people that kind of yelled at me at the beginning, why'd you enter that trade? What was your stop on that trade at the beginning when I was sharing? And, this trade didn't work out. And I said, well, I didn't have a stop. He goes, well, then why'd you enter that trade? Go to the bank and light your money on fire is what he used to tell me. Not very nice sometimes, but sometimes, you got to take a harsh stance. push the baby bird out of the nest kind of thing. The daily webinars, another place where I learned a ton. They're now bi-weekly, so 1 week is Monday, Wednesday, the next week is Tuesday, Thursday. Different personality, spearheading those every single Monday through Thursday, though. They're all recorded. They're on the YouTube channel, so you can always come back and watch them later. I know not as good as the interaction live, but all the same. A whole bunch more educational videos in here. If again, anybody that's even if someone that's if you're here and you're looking at the software, you just joined the software, and your uncle, your cousin, your brother, your ex-girlfriend 3 times removed or whatever is also thinking about breaking into stocks and investing and trading, whatever else, they don't know where to start. Back to Basics that Michael Noss did is 100% free to anybody. Anybody could come here, and it literally starts from what is a stock all the way up to quantitative trading. You don't get any, you don't get it broken down for free, much more than that, to be honest. And then, some trading books that are in here as well. Some of it applies to some people, some of it doesn't apply to some people. Some of it's more swing trading focused, some of it's more day trading focused. So pick and choose, what you want out of it. But some very good stuff in there as well. So that's my rundown. That's my Tuesday. I appreciate all of you popping in here as always. And who passed away? Real is 100%. Chicago Sean. No, Chicago Sean has moved on from us, unfortunately. Really, that was a big bummer for me. I really learned a lot from Sean, and I really enjoyed working with him. He's a really good person to have around, very even-keeled, realistic person. But it is what it is. He, I guess something else came up. Give him a look him up on LinkedIn. You can find Sean McLaughlin on LinkedIn, and see what he's up to there. No hard feelings when he left or anything like that. He left on the best of terms. And just very missed. That's all I could say. But no passing away, Sean. There's a gentleman named there's one specific gentleman named Dusty who was a big help. He didn't take anybody under his wing necessarily, but he explained a lot, and he talked a little weird, the way he coded and messaged things. But there's a lot to what he shared with people in the room, and he just kind of disappeared one day. Nobody heard from him for a long time, and then somehow it filtered to us that he unfortunately had passed away on us. So thus is life. Yes, Sean is very happy with his options trading. He always is. So one day when I start to venture into the world of options, I'll start harassing him. So all right, folks, I'm going to cut the screen share there. And that'll be a wrap for today. So again, anybody that's looking to join tomorrow, it won't be Zoom. It'll just be straight on YouTube. And you'll find me there at 3:30. So thanks everybody for popping in. Really, really appreciate it. Hope you all walked away with something, making the software a little more user